during Women's History Month, and I'm here in the lab of ATR. This is what we also do, and it's a simultaneous show that we're doing. Until that, but this has been put on based on the wonderful work of Dr. Maxine Bryant, who is the director of the Gullah Geechee Center at Georgia Southern University. But not only that, she's also the director of the Center for African Studies here at Georgia Southern University, and also want the great support that we get from our dean in the school. And so again, we're going to open up right now with Dr. Maxine Bryant, an erstwhile proponent of empowerment. And that's why it's so fitting for us to be here tonight. Dr. Maxine Bryant.
Greetings, 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 greetings. What an honor it is to be supported and to support Dr. Amir Toure in this endeavor. At the beginning of the year, he and I were talking about programming and what the Center for Africana Studies and the Gullah Geechee Center were going to do in terms of program for the rest of the semester. As we talked about Women's History Month, Dr. Toure said we have to invite women from the Gullah Geechee community to tell the story, to honor each other, and to identify women who have been influential in their own lives. And so today is the day we get to do that. As Dr. Toure said, I do want to recognize and thank Dr. Julian Hughes for his support. He is always in attendance for one of the other things and what we are endeavoring to do. At Georgia Southern, we do value diversity. We value diverse voices. And so I'm excited for the support of the university. The Center for Africana Studies headquarters is in our Statesboro campus in the IAB building, and the Gullah Geechee Center is located in in the Armstrong campus in beautiful Savannah. That particular place is a space that is we call it a come university. It is where the community can come and own that space for them. We have a couple of upcoming things that we want to be sure to tell you about. Be on the lookout for what we're going to be doing around Juneteenth. We began celebrating and observing Juneteenth last year. That tradition is going to continue. We plan on having a grand opening in the fall of 2022, and we invite all of you to listen in and be prepared to come and celebrate with us as we open up the center in its glory. Right now, it's a one-week center, but soon it's going to be in its glory. I'm excited about the awesome panelists of women who are going to be sharing this evening. We're excited about what you have to say, the opportunity to celebrate each other. Women don't do that enough. And I'm excited that we're going to be doing that this evening. Thank you, Dr. Toure, for all of the hard work that you do and for your support ongoing in and for women across the diaspora. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, there's a housekeeping matter just to share this because I am getting text messages that some people cannot hear with regards to that. If you cannot hear one of the speakers, one of the presenters, I will do the same thing I did, log out and come back in. So please do that. And I'm saying to my cousin, Makita, pass the message on because, again, this is a family show also. So I'm honored to basically acknowledge some people here tonight who've been doing the work. And the first person that we're going to acknowledge is Councilwoman Bridget Frazier from the town of Bluffton, South Carolina. She's in Bluffton, South Carolina. We're going to say greetings to our wonderful sister. We say thank you for being here. Then also, we have Dr. Deidre Grimm, who Dr. Deidre Grimm works with Ivory Bay, and her ties are to the Cape Fear area, North Carolina, and also with regards to what we know as South Carolina, Charleston County, and also Savannah, Georgia. So glad to have you here also, Dr. Grimm. Then we move on. Again, I mentioned to y'all about my cousin, who's now basically, she is now doing double duty. She's now South Carolina and Georgia, and that is Makita Rivera. She's a businesswoman and also an activist here. And one of the other people, she just signed out, but she'll come back in, and that is Faith Appiah. Faith Appiah, also known as Mother Malaya, the Honorable Faith Appiah. And I must say this with regards to her. She is a historian and also an activist and businesswoman. And guess what? Why do we want to make sure that she's here? She's a graduate of Georgia Southern University. We are honored with regards to showing people, I tell her, she's one of the people keeping the story alive. There's someone else who's a great educator in the low country of Georgia. That is the honorable representative for the Gullah Geechee Nation. That is Sister Anita Collins. Again, an educator there in Brunswick, Georgia, bringing the roots. But guess what? That's not all. We then also go down to a place called North Florida. So see what we've done. We had covered the entire area, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And who's that person in Florida? That is the honorable representative for the state of Georgia, for the state of Florida, for the Gullah Geechee Nation. That is Glenda Simmons Jenkins. And so we're so glad to have all of you here with us on this evening to show the empowerment of women in general, but it's tied to who we are as a people, who we could be. And so yes, it's definitely an honor. And so we're going to start out with the introduction of each one of you talking about a woman that meant something to your life with regards to empowerment. And so we start again with that great, and I should say this, she's also a businesswoman. Now, Dr. Bryan is going to get upset with me. She's going to get upset with me. I have to bring this up. The best hot wings of chicken wings in the entire Georgia, Florida, South Carolina area is by our town councilman out of Bluffton, South Carolina. Alderwoman, town councilwoman Bridget Frazier. She's a business, and I told her it's the best in the entire area. You need to check out the Geechee when she has that. So again, we now turn over to our great town councilwoman Bridget Frazier.
Don't start any fights in here, Dr. Toure. Good evening again, everyone. It's definitely a pleasure to be a part of such an amazing forum. And I'm honored to be included on this panel with all of the amazing women that have been introduced here. I think this is an absolute extraordinary opportunity here, and this is beautiful. It really shows the strength and the greatness of all of us. So I'll introduce myself. As stated, I am a native of Bluffton, South Carolina, born and raised. I graduated from the Beaufort County Public School System here and attended the South Carolina State University. I graduated with a degree in professional English, and I went to West Palm Beach, Florida, taught for about 9 years, and had a longing to come back home and do some work in my community, because one of the things that I thought was bothering and pressing me was the vanishing culture of my people, and that was a lack of equity and empowerment for the Native and the Black community, and I was compelled to come back and do the work on the shoulders of my father, who was a mayor pro tem in the area, and a few others that came before. And I've been hitting the ground ever since. I'm the chair of the Bluffton MLK Observance Committee in Bluffton. I'm a council member, and I'm also a businesswoman. And I've used my platform to elevate specifically our community, and have gotten at times chided for it, and people saying, well, what about, helping everyone, or why are you so specific? And I have to remind people, Beaufort County, this area was once 80 to 90% Black, empowered in the sense of who owned land, who had businesses, who were elected officials, and we come to a place now between Hilton Head, Bluffton, and Beaufort County, we make up less than 10% of the area, and you talk about businesses and other things, and that number gets even lower. So that's a part of who I am and the work that I do. The woman who empowered me so much to be as vocal and as bold, and where I got my culinary background from, is my grandmother. Her name is Daisy Pinkney Frazier. She's the namesake of a restaurant I'll be opening in Bluffton called Ma Daisy's. But she had a second grade education. She was the oldest of, I believe, 13 siblings. She was raised in Belfair, now known as Belfair Plantation, but it was Pinckney Colony in Bluffton. And she was pulled out at second grade, as I stated, to help her parents raise their younger siblings and to work out in the field. But even with the second grade education, she taught me more than any school could have ever taught me. And it was really about that self-determination, and it was about standing in and who I was and never being ashamed of that and where I came from. And she was an oyster shucker in the area, one of the oldest that stayed in the area to do that. And by the age of 7, I was in the kitchen with her, whether it was me heading shrimp or scaling and gutting whitening on the porch, or in the field picking okra and watermelon and sugar cane. I was doing all of that, and I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. She was passing down the traditions of what she had, and that was being able to cook, red rice and other things. And she would always make it a point to instill those things in me and remind me of just little sayings on, the importance of carrying yourself a certain way, of not letting people, run over you. She was a woman deeply rooted in Gullah traditions, and would scare people at times when saying stuff like, it's not the dead who you have to be afraid of. She would be visited by people. She would say, it's the living you got to watch out for. Make sure you know who you're dealing with. Everybody isn't always who they say they are, but you make sure that no matter anything, you don't change who you are for anybody. And so because of that, I could go into places and spaces I've been in and be unafraid to be there, even when people may have given me the impression I didn't belong. And I stand on her because I was like, if she could do it at 5'3" with no education, no background, and reach the type of success that she did in raising her 11 children and getting them all to the point where she did, I knew that I could eat that myself. And so I'm just proud to be a product of her and a product of my culture. Is this also, Dr. Toure, where we mentioned the woman that on the panel that
we're going to come back. We're going to let everyone introduce themselves, and then that person or persons that, yes, ma'am, we're going to come to that. And so, yes, indeed. But you just shared in the Gullah Geechee class, I talked just this week about head and shrimp. That's what we did on head and shrimp. But then also dealing with regard to where we talk about that you will never be concerned about the people who are deceased. It's the living you got to be concerned with, part of our tradition. And so that's why it's so fitting, Councilwoman Frazier, that we now move on to someone who is continuing the tradition right now. And that's why I say she's doing it strongly, and that is Mother Mela. That is Faith Appiah, again, a graduate of Georgia Southern University. And so to, again, the Honorable Faith Appiah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bridget Frazier. Appiah, also known as Mother, and the operator of the action. where I focus on also awareness and promoting and establishing Black women's movement so that I also focus on Black history of Savannah. So Geechee history and the culture in its entirety from various areas within Savannah. My little introduction. Savannah area, born and raised, my whole family from that area. So I know a good much about the east side of Savannah. I do love the Toure area. Those two are from that area. So that's what I focus on, and I try to represent them. My main goal is to represent them to the next generation so they can know who they are and so that they can, and I think it's very important that they do. So we won't see all these crimes and killings and murders, gangs, and so once they know who they are, then they could act like they don't look like something, act like something. So I think that is very important.
Yes, indeed. And so who's the woman or women that inspired you? I think we may be frozen. Can you hear us, Mother Mela?
I could hear a little bit. I didn't hear that middle part. Did you
Oh.
say?
Who was the woman or the women that inspired you, that gave you the sense of empowerment? I think it may be a connection issue.
It's her phone.
Maybe a connection issue, maybe tied to the phone.
Oh, is this better?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yes. I don't know if you heard me a lot. My mother and my grandma played a major role in my upbringing. I was both my grandmother passed. I go out of those. First and foremost, I want to be where I am today. And really where I'm that's my mom. They are all, we grew up in a community where everyone in school, if someone's okay, and we know do so, I understand.
Okay. I think it was just getting zoning in and out, but that's still, yeah, we understand the power of who you are and what you've been doing. Because again, she's a businesswoman here in Savannah, also a graduate of Georgia Southern University, but someone who's having an impact in making sure that we deal with preservation. And so now we move on to someone else who's involved with regards to preservation, making sure that the story is told and being an active person, because it's been instilled in her since she was a child. I'm going to convey something right now. I've known her since she was a baby, but that does not mean that I'm older than her. Just understand that. That does not mean I'm older than her. Don't say anything about that. So again, but she's now not only in South Carolina being active, but also now in Georgia being active also. So with regards to my cousin, Makita Rivera, and so we now turn it over to you and also discuss the woman or women that inspired you, that empowered you.
Good evening and greetings, everyone.
Greetings.
Okay, I can say this, Jamal, y'all see how you throw people under the bus, but I love him dearly. And he's right, he's known me since I was a baby, so he's telling his age. So I want to say this, it is an honor to be here and to have been invited by him, him knowing that I do share two places now, being in South Carolina and living now here in Georgia. It is a pleasure to be here with these other honorable women and the community that we all share. So I am Takita Aiken Rivera, because Aiken is that Gullah name. That's that Gullah name. That's the name that people will recognize me as. So I do use that more often. And I respect my husband in his place. But I work with the Beaufort County School District as a behavioral management specialist. I had no idea, you guys, that I would end up in this opportunity or in the school system. I always had my own agenda. My mom, and I'm jumping a little bit, but my mom was very active in the communities of Bluffton and Hilton Head. So her, Bridget's dad and her shared a lot of those trailblazing moments together and making sure that those two communities were always connected in some way. Because, yep, it just took the drawbridge to connect us. Now we have a bigger bridge, but why not connect with those two small towns and make sure that everybody in both sides of the town knew who they were, and things that needed to be done in Hilton Head, it reciprocated in Bluffton. Things that needed to be done in Bluffton, it reciprocated over in Hilton Head. And as Dr. Toure mentioned, we grew up together pretty much in the Hilton Head area. And all these cultures, all these areas are so similar. I saw a picture of him the other day climbing the tree. That brought back so many memories, because our students don't do that. They don't climb trees anymore, y'all.
Yes.
They're climbing trees on the internet. Now that's some weird stuff. Come on, get on a real tree. So I'm just so excited to be here. And I hadn't told him this, but I actually kind of got a small engagement at a private school in Columbia right at the beginning of my workload at Hilton Head Island School for Creative Arts in Hilton Head. I was invited to talk about the history, our history, to a private school in Columbia. And none of those kids look like me. I probably saw one or two in the crowd. And that to me has started this new thing of being able to be a historian. So I need to say now that I am launching into being a historian to the youth, because we know that they're the ones they're gonna need to know all that we know and all that have been empowered in us and poured in us to carry it on. Because, that fire can go out if we don't give them what we have. So I'm just excited to be able to do that with them. I started out working at the middle school sector of school, and now I'm at the elementary level. There is so much more impressionable there. There's so much more like sponge there. So anything you say to them, they're gonna believe that, and they're gonna carry that on. So I'm glad I'm there. I mean, this ain't had nothing to do with me. That was God, because I had no idea that was gonna be a shift for me to be able to go from one area of education to the next in elementary.
Look at Big Ten.
Somebody needs to mute their line.
And then
So-
put their stamp of approval on it and come back to us about,
We will ask you to mute yourself. It appears that someone may be in a meeting. Dr. Bryant.
Somebody can do the mute all, the host or the co-host.
I don't know who that is.
So what that means is then after that, after, let's say 2 weeks, okay, that process is completed and then your TEDx Savannah Tom is on the TEDx Savannah website, which also has a link to our YouTube channel.
It's Dr. Bryant.
It's there. So your internet based now, yes, your internet based now. So be familiar with the form. You may want to go back and look at some TEDx.
I think it's Dr. Bryant.
My talk, which is designing responsive fear of public speaking. Everybody has a little bit, and yours is actually good. It's very normal. So you might want to watch mine at some point. So then you already have your idea. So what the next step is to be able to turn that idea into a talk. And you're going to be taking the evidence control.
I'm on my phone trying to.
For your idea, you are the expert. So you may have never thought of yourself as an expert. Okay, guess what you are. So think of yourself that
I'm going, so my sister, my cousin Jane, can you text Dr. Bryant and tell her to mute herself?
Just having it all written down so that we can help you to be prepared for what's going to happen on the day of. And this is the better talk's going to be.
Dr. Bryant is the host.
Going into April, I'm like, we're
All right,
holding on
thank
to
you.
July's event.
Thank you, Dean.
Yes, she's the only.
I have so many things going on. I can't even imagine how many things you all have going on. But, find a few quiet hours in your day, in your week, on the weekend, or whatever. Get your script started, and then have the first draft of it done by the time you see you again in April. All right. And then you will need your slides also if you have them. So here's the thing: you don't have to have slides. There are plenty of great talks out there that don't have slides. Then there's some plenty of great talks out there that do have slides. I tell my students,
You got her number?
slides.
I just sent her a message.
And thank you. And on the phone that I'm on right now,
You don't need it.
but
But
not on
if
this
it's
one.
something that is going to add impact to your talk, if it's something that being able to see a visual of it, or an illustration or something like that is gonna really help. You wanna figure.
Well, we learned about TED Talks and how to get on TED Talks. I know that.
Okay.
For anybody else, that you get some information.
The screen is big. Hurricane Matthew, that graphic from edge to edge of that hurricane, that, satellite picture of that hurricane, that impacted his talk.
Bear with us, please. Thank you all. Those who run, tell that, thank you. I'm trying to see if I have her number on this phone that I can.
We can help you with that as well. That's what we have a whole team for. But at the end of the day, your slides have to be in the format that is going to be able to be part of our show. And that is very important. So there's instructions in the guide to help you do that. But also, we're in two stages, briefly about creative commons licenses.
Yes, everything you show, because Ted is going to look at it before they brand it as approved, you must have permission to use any visuals that you, so if you find a really great picture on the internet, you can't just cut it and paste it. I know you can. So we've given you in the guides really good places to go to find Creative Commons material, and you'll find just about everything you need. If you search in Google and underneath the Google box, you click on the little word that says images, and then in their filter box, you can set that to Creative Commons only. Then everything you find has a Creative Commons license, which means you can use it. You're not being paid to use it. You're not making money with it, so you can use it.
All right, and then again, if you have any questions about the slides, or creative comments, just reach out to us. There are emails in there. You say, if you have a question about this, email this person.
It's really well known in the manual. If you have any questions, there's something you really want to use, talk to us.
And then if you took this.
Dr. Bryant, can you mute yourself?
I think if you talk over,
So sitting
So
here
talk
thinking about
over.
my talk, I kind of would like to use a video or graph.
I don't,
Is that something you can do, or is it just like still images or?
I thought she was the one
Some of
that,
the speakers, I think the majority of speakers just speak.
Right, right.
Some of them more than good, 1, 2, or 3 specifically for the image.
you got everybody mute except first.
yeah.
See if you can do it now.
You see, so
I think a good question
Oh.
for clarity would be can video that sounds.
yes, yes.
It's tricky.
Jamal, are you seeing the people on your end?
You say, am I saying,
So if you've ever seen anybody's TED Talk, she does this little
Say-
video clip, and it's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Okay, y'all, I think she's muted. She's muted. Okay.
no, I was not, when you were saying I had muted myself, I was saying, no, I don't see the view all. So we're gonna move on, continue with you. We don't sweat it, we go forward. Yes, go ahead.
The devil is a liar, I know that.
We don't sweat that.
But we got some good information about TED Talk, so whoever interested, like I said, hope y'all was writing down some notes, because I showed y'all some stuff down over here. So I guess I was saying that in the sector of elementary, they're so impressionable, and anything you give them, you have to give them the truth, because they are gonna tell the truth now. They don't tell. The kids are at that level and that age. They're honest. So you have to give them good information so they can share it. And I just believe everything happens strategically, and that's kind of what's currently going on. The 2 women, there's 2. I can say 2.
Yes, absolutely. That would say a woman or women. That's right. Absolutely. Go forward.
Women, I have oh my goodness. I can go on and on, but there's other women on here who I know have women as well they want to talk about.
Right, and we're not gonna be here all night.
That's right. Next time. So my grandmother, of course, she was a community an activist in her own way when it comes down to feeding people's children and taking great care of them. She was the woman in the community who started having children later on in life, and she ended up having 4 kids after the age of 40. And that was my Aunt Gloria, my mom, my Uncle Charles, and my Aunt Cynthia. My Aunt Cynthia is the only living one right now. But she taught me, and what I saw her was a woman who did not have any more than a 6th to 8th grade education run a rental business, to say. So we're talking about Airbnb back then. It was mobile homes right in our backyard or in the property of another family member. That to me was what was like Airbnb, because we had people that migrated to Hilton Head from other places to work, and they needed a place to live. So she had that, and she ran that thing strategically. And I was a little girl, and I was just watching this woman who I heard people say she didn't have but an 8th grade education. I'm trying to figure out, well, if she ain't have but an 8th grade education, how's she counting these people money? How is she reading these contracts? How is she doing this? But it was perseverance, and it was her strength, and it was her, I am going to do this no matter what they say I can't do. And she was a great cook. Our house would be full during the summer when her sisters would come from New York, and those were some big ladies, okay? They did not mess with my mom and those when they went to New York. Those women were very, very built, statue was strong. But she did, she taught us all that, all the Gullah cooking, the Southern cooking. We had a field too, Bridget. And I used to be upset. I had to get up out my bed to go 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, talking about going to put some peas in the field. But them peas was some of the best peas I had in my life. right now, to this day, I would love to get back to that. But she was a cultivating woman. She was a woman of God. I would say evangelist Alberta is what I would have called her now is to this day. But she didn't have a title. She just did what she was supposed to do. She was an obedient woman. She took care, like I said, of people's kids and their stomachs. She worked at the elementary school, which was right in our side of our house, which we called the courthouse annex, and that's where kids went to school. They had summer programs there, but she got up and she would make the best biscuits. Churches got some good biscuit. Yeah, Popeye too, but she made homes, I'm saying scratch, for these people's children in our community. So I am honored to say that I am a part of that lineage. And then she birthed this strong woman, little 5'3", petite powerhouse, which was my mama. And she was also a woman who spoke what was meant. She was strong with it, and if she said it, it was going to be. Because she said, I know that God said he the great I am, so if he the great I am and he created me, I am going to do what he tell me to do. So that's who I come from. My mother was also, she did a lot of things in our community. She would haul us all to what we called, and if some of you from Savannah remember, Stapleton Beach. As little kids, we would pile up that little Cutlass, light blue Cutlass with white leather seats. Can y'all imagine 12 little kids getting in somebody Cutlass that had white leather seats? Well, we did, and we went to the beach. So she was also already instilling me and showing me that she had a passion for the youth. She had a passion for her kids. Now, I did go away to college, and I got my education in communications. I thought I was going to be Oprah one day. I thought I was going to have, broadcasting. But what the education I got was organizational communication, and I'm using that in the sense right now. But those are the women that instilled in me, and I could go on and on, but I'm gonna stop right there.
Right, because we do have some other people, but then at least throw out there the names of these powerful women that meant something to you.
Alberta Perry Patterson, maiden name was Drayton Jones, and Veronica Simmons Miller. She knew everything. That was when you said my mama said, that woman to me knew everything.
And in addition to with regards to the Aiken family on Hilton Head Island, for the community was the Pope community, they in fact had the school, the one-room school that was there that taught the children in the Pope community. So again, that shows you the history. And so someone else who has history with regards to educating their family, that they are also an educator themselves, are also preservationists and an activist in the Glenn County, Georgia area. And I dare say even going to the Camden County, a representative for the Gullah Geechee Nation. And she knows that her mother and I had battles often because her mother often tried to handle me. And so that is the Honorable Anita Collins from out of Brunswick, Georgia. Return to my sister, my good friend, my family, Sister Anita Collins, the Honorable Representative for the state of Georgia for the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Good evening, everyone. Greetings to all of you, and thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Listening to all of the other sisters, I think it goes without saying for me that my mom and my grandmothers were my first influencers. However, I want to share with you the woman that I'm going to, and this was not easy. I want you to know that, Dr. Toure, to single someone out within our culture. But I'm going to highlight Cornelia Walker Bailey. And I'm going to highlight Cornelia Walker Bailey because I can remember the very first time I met her on Sapelo Island. Sapelo Island is one of the sea islands here on the coast of Georgia. Cornelia Walker Bailey was a strong, powerful woman, and she was influenced by her mother and her grandmother. But she was also driven to lift up and preserve the Gullah Geechee culture. She was very concerned about it being lost. So during her lifetime, she continued to, particularly when she went away from the island for a period and returned to the island. And from the point when she returned to the island, that became her passion and what she was driven to do, which was to lift up the Gullah Geechee culture, to encourage people to hold on to the old ways. In 2000, she wrote a book. The title of the book is God, Dr. Buzzard, and the Bonito Man. And the reason the book is titled that is because I'm going to say that's like a trinity. One out trinities. Because yes, you believe in God, but it was also a part of the culture that you believed in Dr. Buzzard, because that's the root man. There were no doctors to go to. You had to go out in the bush and know which herbs to choose to help heal you. And there was definitely no doctor on Sapelo Island then or now. And of course, the Bonito Man is because, if you don't know, before there was the casinos in our culture, and before you could go and scratch off, you went to the number man, also known as the Bonito Man. Therefore, that is why her memoir was titled God, Dr. Buzzard, and the Bonito Man. And one of the most striking quotes that, the book is packed with a lot of information about Sapelo's history and everything, and why this woman was so determined to use everything within her to uplift the Gullah Geechee culture and not for it to not be lost. One of the quotes that stays with me from her book is, "You can survive if you believe in yourself and your culture." That's a powerful statement that she made, and it resonates with me. It resonated with me in 2000 when I first read the book, and it still resonates with me. Because what we can see and have seen is we need for more of us to know who we be. When we don't know who we be, we don't know where we're going. We just wandering aimlessly, so to speak. Cornelia Walker Bailey is the reason for Culture Day on Sapelo Island. And she died just a few weeks prior to Culture Day, but even though she had died, she was not well, and Culture Day fell by the wayside. It's my understanding that they're planning to have Culture Day again this year, which would be the third Saturday in October. So hopefully we will, sidecars will be able to have Culture Day to start again, which was huge during Cornelia Walker Bailey's lifetime. So I just want to lift up Cornelia Walker Bailey and what she's done and what how she impacted so many, not just those of us here in Georgia, but throughout this country and throughout the world. Cornelia Walker Bailey, Sapelo Island, Georgia, a descendant of Bilali, one of the first that we know about in these here parts of the work of this man, first Muslim who held on to his faith even after he was captured and came to this world. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Sister Anita. We appreciate that greatly. And so again, we make our sojourn. We travel up to another part of the Gullah Geechee area. We travel up to, again, another part of the southeastern part of the United States. We go to, again, Cape Fear area of North Carolina, but then we also go to a place known as Charleston County, South Carolina, and also Savannah, Georgia. Someone who's working with the people with regards to Ivory Bay right here in Savannah, Georgia. And that's, again, our sister, the Honorable Dr. Deidre Graham with Ivory Bay.
Thank you so very much for having this platform this evening. I am so in awe of the stories that the sisters have shared thus far, as well as just the greatness that's on this panel. And so I am honored to be a part of this panel. But just in thinking of context of who I am, the first thing I say, I be Gullah Geechee. I'm a wife, also a mother, a social scientist, planner, fighter, activist, business owner, whatever you want to call me, because we as women, we have to wear many hats. We've always traditionally have to wear many hats. And just like my sister, Councilwoman Bridget Frazier, I am a product of the South Carolina State University. He's shaking his head, don't start this. He already knows, don't start this. But needless to say, I came upon this because my grandmother was also a dean of business at South Carolina State University before retiring. But my work really started, I'll give you a story. I was in Charleston and I was working for an organization that provided low-income tax credit housing. And we had communities throughout the area. We had one, it was in my purview from anywhere from Virginia to Texas, but we had these two particular properties, one in downtown Charleston and the other on Daniels Island. And my residents in downtown wanted a television. And I went to the owners and explained to them that the residents, that was their community space. They came in, watched Price is Right, their stories, and they just needed a new TV. You know, we had just finished building this multi-million-dollar project on Daniels Island, and I felt that it was fitting to give them a television. And the young lady told me, well, those people don't need a TV. And I said, well, we just put up a 60-inch flat screen TV on Daniels Island, but they can't get a television. And she said, it's not in the budget. I said, okay, well, I knew how much money we were raking in every month off of these residents. And so I was infuriated. And she told me, Deidre, if you don't like it, either you need to go back to school or become a stay-at-home mom. And you know what? What I did, I went back to school. I saw a commercial on TV about urban planning, didn't know what it was. But after doing some research and looking at how my community was changing in regards to urban renewal, we were seeing that our communities were decimated and divided by these highways that were supposedly to create access and better transportation. But for whom? Who was the transportation for? It was white flight that was going to the suburban areas, and we weren't going to be welcome there. So it infuriated me, and I went back to school, moved across the country, and completed a doctorate in urban planning at the University of California, Irvine. And it was life-changing. I look back on those years as it was creating the activists that my mom had always instilled in me. And the person I call my mom is my grandmother. She just turned 105 last week. She raised me from 2 years old until now, because I'm still under Sadie's tutelage. But she shared with me a story last week, that was very interesting, that I had never heard in regards to the Orangeburg Massacre.
Okay.
So, as I stated, she was the dean of business there. And I wanted to learn more because I'm trying to journal a lot because I'm not certain how many days we have left. And she said, well, she was the decoy for them to set up outside the bowling alley. And I said, what do you mean, Mom? And she told me she was on her motor scooter and she was running through all the stop signs and all the lights, and she had the police behind her when she went all the way to the fairgrounds. And there were two separate fairgrounds. The black fairgrounds, if anyone knows about Orangeburg, it was behind the police station, and the white fairgrounds were past where, Bridget, you probably know where the McDonald's and stuff are. So needless to say, she was going to the white fairgrounds and they weren't going to have her out there. So they were setting up outside the bowling alley while she was being the decoy on this motor scooter. And I said, well, how many police cars did you have behind you? She said, I had about 5 police cars behind me. Now, mind you, my grandmother, if you go on my Facebook page, you'll see her. She's at this moment, she's maybe about 5'6", 5'7", very small, but loud voice. And she said after that, because my family was fortunate enough to start the first Black-owned taxi company in South Carolina, Dash's Taxi, and she had the wherewithal to get out of jail like that. So her brother came and got her. Shortly after that, that's when the police saw that they were the sit-ins outside the bowling alley. My mom, she went in, took her place inside the bowling alley, and she explained to me, the police officer said, "You again, the N-word?" And she nicely smiled, like, yeah, you thought I was just going to be still sitting in jail. And he hosed her down with the fire hose, right? And she had just gotten over polio, so she was on 2 crutches. And she after that, that's when they marched to the campus. And unfortunately, Smith, Hammond, and Middleton were killed on the campus as a result of the protest. Her name is Sadie Dash McNair. Also in relation to the governor at the time, Robert McNair, through marriage, and he came down and he, understood the travesty and the situations that were going on. But I just saw that at an early age, it was embedded in me to be a troublemaker and a problem, right? And I'm okay with that. I tell my kids and the people that I work with, I'm okay with being the bad guy. If I need to be the bad guy in order to elevate and push the needle forward and move my people forward, that's what I'm about. And so I'm so blessed to be here in Savannah, where I have found my tribe, but I've also seen the same issues that hurt my community in Charleston. I'm seeing the same issues in regards to the Weepington property, in regards to the demolition of Yamaprov Village, those who were kicked out of their apartments in Clearview, Stillwell Towers not having access to elevators. We're not taking care of our culture. And so this is why I went back to school, as that woman told me to do, because I wanted to become her problem. And I'm happy that I'm here today. And I just thank you all for sharing the space with me as well.
Thank you. Glad to have you here and be right here. Dr. Deidre Graham, Ivy Bay. In fact, Ivy Bay has put on the first Gullah Geechee celebration, a festival in Savannah, Georgia. It is the Weeping Time African Unity Festival. That's done that first weekend in March. And so again, they had it this year and they have it next year also, the 5th annual. And so now we move on to the southern part of the Gullah Geechee area, the area of Liberty Dodger, the area of liberty, the area for freedom. And then we're going to Nassau County, Florida right now, right outside Duval County. And this is one of the first and the inaugural commissioners for the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor. So again, you're looking at history right here, that in 2007, she's appointed as one of the inaugural commissioners for the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor. So she got a lot of history, a lot of background, but we're not going to get all that tonight. And this is my sister, who is also the representative for Florida for the Gullah Geechee Nation. Again, the Honorable Glenda Simmons Jenkins. Glad to have you here, sis.
Glad to be here. Peace and blessings.
Peace
I'm
and
so
blessings.
happy to see everyone. So happy to be with everyone. Grateful for the opportunity. Down here in Florida, we didn't know we were Gullah Geechee, many of us, and I was included in that, and not knowing that I was Gullah Geechee. Although when I realized I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I wanted to elevate.
You said what?
So you looking at the time?
Yeah, I'm gonna move downstairs.
In the sense that she passed on to me, that I was not.
So, Ron, tell that again, but then I'll move downstairs.
By the time I was born, but I was raised in the home with my Jamaican grandfather, so I have a little bit of Caribbean as well. And then later, my paternal grandfather, who was Gullah Geechee. So I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to have been influenced by all of the women in my family, and within terms of preparing us for values. I had to present at an event on Saturday, and I held
hello to me, nor did she say thank you. And all I can say is I'm glad that I was raised with manners. That's part of what being a is all about. I want to say before I step aside, I'm grateful to be a part of the Assembly of Representatives with Representative Anita Collins and her co-representative, Reverend Zach Lyons. My co-representative is Jefferson here in Florida. And we're just grateful to be doing the work to uplift our people. Thank you so much for having me.
And again, thank you, Sister Glenda, Representative Glenda Simmons Jenkins. So now we're going to move into this other element right here. So each one of you have been tasked with the responsibility of getting to know the other sister and then talking about the accolades of them, because we see that, again, we know that there are other people that have played a role with regards to our foundation, but we too are also playing a role too with the foundation of other people and having an impact. So that's why your double duty right now, Representative Simmons Jenkins, is to now talk about the other person that you're supposed to discuss, and that is Dr. Deidre Grimm. Downstairs.